What's up, Board Game Geek? I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
We are the Brothers Murph, and it's time for us to do a top 10, my man. It's time for us to do a top 10. If you've seen us do a top 10 versus 10s on this channel with Steph, this is not going to be us comparing our tastes against the general
straight
people.
Up top 10.
Because we know Steph really gives the better, our taste is cultivated better. So for this one, we're just going to make our own top 10, and you can just assume that's going to be not as good as what you would rank your games. But what we're doing today are filler games.
Filler games. So what are filler games? So filler games are generally games that you play in between bigger games. That's not like a game night. Or if you got like 15 minutes before dinner or something like that,
just
you might play a little filler
time.
game. They tend to be pretty light. They're not too heavy by any stretch of imagination. They usually tend to be between 30 minutes and less.
Yeah, 15 to 30 minutes.
15 to 30 minutes generally.
Yeah.
And just generally light and fun. And there's a whole bunch of different kinds of filler games, which is why we wanted to do this list. And we did try to make our list pretty varied in terms. We tried to hit a lot of different
games for
stuff.
different situations.
But nonetheless, we love filler games. I think filler games are an integral part to board gaming, even more so than bigger games, because these are the games that you get new gamers with these games because they're easy and quick. These are the ones that fill out the time. Filler games are a very, very important part of the hobby.
Great for a game night when you have just people that are in between bigger games and what do we do? We can toss in any of these.
Minutes? Perfect, yeah. So
that's right.
They fill in the gaps there. So let's go ahead and get into our top 10 filler games.
Here we go. We'll start with number 10.
So number 10 we've talked about a couple times, and that is New York Slice. Now this is number 10 because this is kind of at the top of the filler games in terms of
longer
it's 30 minutes,
filler.
but it's on the long end of 30 minutes. And so it could go a little bit more, but the reason why we picked it is because despite the fact that it's a pretty big box, it really is. It's a very light, simple I split you choose game where you have a pizza out and there's one person who's a splitter, and they will split that pizza up into however many players it is. It also plays 2 to 6, which is really nice. And it scales pretty well in there as well. So there's 5 people. The splitter will cut it into 5 different pieces, and all the different pieces are numbered 3 to 11.
Yeah.
And there are 11 pieces, 10 pieces.
Different toppings for each of those
different
numbers.
toppings for each one. And essentially it's area majority, set collection. You're trying to get the most of...
Set majority, I guess.
If you have more 11s than everyone else at the end of the game, you're going to get 11 points.
And then 10 and 9.
Now, the kick where is when you split, the person who split chooses last.
Right. So you try to give... Everyone's trying to get their right part of the pie, right? So you want to split things up so that people will take a bunch of things, but somehow just leave the one section that you really want for yourself so that you can collect all the right types of pizza.
Yeah, you have to give everyone a little bit of what they want, but you also don't want to just give them everything they want. So splitting is actually pretty tough, especially when you're getting to the higher player counts. But it also have these special orders each round. Special order will be every one of this type is worth an extra point. Just little bonuses, little things that change stuff, and those will be added onto one of the portions of pizza. And it's just really, really fun. Quick, easy. It's also got just a cool theme. Just pizza. Everyone likes pizza. And it's just a great little filler.
Just different. Just the way it looks is just cool and different. So and it's great because you can accommodate a lot of different people pretty quickly. Even with teaching, it's about 30 minutes. So New York Slice is our number 10. Let's get into number 9. So number 9 is a really fun, simple domino-style game called King Domino, where you are building out a kingdom using these domino-type pieces that will have land types on them. There's forest and water, and there's kind of farmlands and mines and things like that. And the whole thing is that you are limited in the way that you can build your kingdom.
Yes.
One thing is that from your little castle you start, you have to build out from that castle, and then you have to build touching on something you've built before, and you have to match at least one half of the domino to a land type that's already present. Has to make sense, unless you're touching that castle, which is kind of a wild. So it's just gives you enough to think about there, and then you can only build out your castle that's 5 spaces wide or tall. So you can't just go out one direction indefinitely, so you have to kind of build in this square. So I like the puzzling nature of that, where you have just those little things to think about, but it's super simple. It's you can see if you're matching things. You know if you're matching right away, and you want to get big areas of certain land types, and then certain tiles have crowns on them, and that's the multiplier for points. You gotta have some crowns to have some points. So if I have an area of water that's 7 tiles, little squares and they have 3 crowns, I'm going to get 21 points.
Exactly.
And that's really all it is.
Yeah.
It's just making that kingdom, and then with the fun twist is that all of the tiles are numbered.
Yeah.
From 1 to 48, I believe.
45.
And the higher the number, the better that tile is.
It's going to have more crowns.
More crowns and things.
Rare land types, yeah.
Right, so you are selecting on your current turn, you're going to take your little pawn. When you grab the tile for this turn, you're going to put your pawn on the tile you want for the next turn. You see all the 4 options for the next turn available. And you're going to put it on there, and the higher valued tile you choose, you'll have less and less turn priority. If you choose the most valuable tile, you're going last the next turn, which means you're going to get whatever's left over the turn after that. So that's the only bit that you have to really concern yourself with is it's like, ooh, do I want to be first next turn and take a lesser tile now? Or do I not care about that because this has 2 crowns on it and that's super valuable for me?
Yeah.
And that's like the beauty of that game.
Yeah, it's very simple.
That's all it needs to be.
Yeah, one of the Spiel des Jahres, and I think rightfully so. It's just so simple. Great family weight, like quick. It's like 15, 20 minutes.
It's just a fun game.
It's a fun game. If you're playing 2x2, you can make a 7x7 grid instead of
it's even a little more puzzly than we do.
And that one gets a little more tough, but it's nice because it's great at 2, 3, and 4. But at 2, you can play just 5x5, or you can use all the tiles and do a 7x7, which is also really, really fun. King Dominoes, it's just great.
It's just a great time. That's why it's our number 9. It's kind of like an ultra filler, super short and easy to get down. That's great.
Yeah,
let's get to number 8.
So one thing about filler games, a lot of times there's only 2 people. So I think a lot of good filler games, really good filler games, for the most part, you want to be mostly good at 2. Because a lot of times it's just like there's 2 people and you're like, hey, I got the game group late, waiting for games to show. So this is a great 2-player game, especially if you know the other person very well, and that is Codenames Duet. Codenames Duet.
The best of the code names.
It is the best of code names. The only code names in my book.
The many, many, many types of code names.
So many kinds of code names at this point. Yeah. But nonetheless, this is a game. It's a co-op, 2-player only version of Codenames, where you essentially are trying to, like normal code names, you're giving out clues, and then people are guessing what words those clues are pertaining to, and you can give out 1 clue and say this pertains to 3 of the words, and they can try to guess those like normal code names. The thing is you're both working on the same grid, and you each have a certain set of words. I think it's 15 that you need the other person to guess, but 6 of them are going to overlap. So 6 of them, Mike and I will have the same word.
Or 3 of them or something like that.
But of course, I don't know what words he has, and so there's this like really tough back and forth where you have a certain amount of turns to get, each player has to get all of theirs uncovered.
You got to get 9 between the 2 of you or something? Or 12 maybe.
No, I think it's, I don't know, something like that. Yeah, I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But nonetheless, you have to get them all before time runs out. You can only have a certain amount of mistakes. Again, there's still those traders everywhere that where if you hit one of those, you just immediately lose. There's a cool little campaign game where you're touring the world as spies, and basically the amount of time you have to solve the puzzle goes up and down. The amount of mistakes you can make goes up and down.
It's a really fun way to go about it.
2-player game where you can really try to get in each other's heads and have a good time. And I think Codenames in general is fun with people you know, but I also think it's fun without people because sometimes it's almost easier when you don't have all that history, where you're like, ooh, Mike and I one time in 1992,
why would
we're
that
here. And it's
here?
like, just being some rando, you could be like animal, and they're like frog, cow.
Makes sense.
It's not like animal. Does he mean animal by the neon?
Car tire.
Animal, the neon trees. Neon trees are a band, but they haven't been around for a while. It's just like you can get all this weird stuff, so it's like, it's almost better that way. But nonetheless, Codenames Duet, it's a great 2-player version of Codenames. The only version of Codenames, is what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
Talking too quick.
Talking too fast for even himself. Codenames Duet is fantastic. Yeah. It's our number 8. We have it and love it. It's our favorite version.
Yeah, it's the best.
Boom. Let's get to number 7. Speaking of 2-player games, sometimes you want something that's super tactical. And this one, we're not working together, we're working against each other in Hanumakoji.
Yeah, Hanumakoji. Also, a lot of filler games tend to be smaller, too.
It's also nice. You can put
Mostly, they tend to be smaller, yeah. This one it's very small.
This is a 2-player game, a little micro game where you are trying to get geisha to your restaurant. You want them to perform at your restaurant, and so you're trying to get more cards of each of the different types of geisha, the 7 that are out there, in front of you. And basically, if you have more influence, they want to work at your place. It's more prestigious and things like that. And if you can get a majority of them to come to your place, you win. If you get 4, or if you get the most valuable the best geisha one, I think you'd be like 11 points worth.
Yeah, 11 points worth.
Will also get you the victory because you have just the best one. So it doesn't matter if you don't have the most. You have the best performers. And it's really cool because each player is going to take the same 4 actions. You might take them in a different order, but you will carry out the 4 set actions. One, you get to tuck away a card to be revealed at the end. Another one, you burn 2 cards. Another one, I offer my opponent 3 cards. They choose 1, I get the other 2. And then the other ones, and I split, you choose. I make 2 pairs of cards. My opponent chooses 1. I get the other pair. And so, like, that's all it is.
That's all it is.
But within that, there's so much to think about because I'm wondering, what does my opponent have in their hand? What kind of cards, like, do they already have a majority of this one geisha? And I'm blindly trying to, like, fight for them even though I cannot win it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of intrigue there. While only being like 20 cards.
Yeah, it's really small. It's really small.
Yeah.
And it's super cool because, like, again, because there's like the I split you choose, you don't know what your opponent has, especially because they can keep a card secret. They also burn 2 cards. So things you might be giving them exactly what they need, and you have no idea. But
so
they
trying
also
to deduce it.
Are doing the same thing to you. But to me, where the real crazy stressful fun of this game, because this game is the perfect, like, very, very stressful, but in a good way, is you have at the end of the game, someone may not win.
Yeah, at the end of the round,
someone may not win.
You might not have neither player might have a majority.
So then you shuffle the cards and you go again. But the geisha that did move to different places stay there. So if I got these 2 geisha here, they're on my side. So then Mike then has to try and take them from me. And then I'm trying to take them from Mike.
Right.
And if we have a situation where we each have the same amount, they stay where they are. So then this constant back and forth of trying to steal them away while keeping yours.
Yeah.
And it could go for a round. A lot of times it ends in like 1 to 3 rounds, but there's sometimes it's gone like 5, 6, and it just gets more and more stressful. It's it's a great 2-player game. Small, it's so good. Gosh, it's so good.
So solid. It's fantastic. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really pretty too.
It's a super tactical 2-player experience that goes by quick. Even if you play multiple rounds, it'll be a 15-minute game.
Oh yeah,
it's very fast. It's just one of the best. I mean, we've had it forever and still love it. Hanumakoji's great. It's our number 7.
Yeah.
So let's get to number 6.
Here's the thing. None of these games are super serious.
Yes, they are.
As they shouldn't be, because they're filler games, you know? So we got to have a little silly dexterity game. You got a table, you got a couple people. So we got Rhino Hero, Super Battle. You can choose a lot of dexterity games. But this one, Rhino Hero or Rhino Hero, which is even smaller box, Rhino Hero Super Battle box is unnecessarily huge.
A bit oversized.
But nonetheless, Rhino Hero, which is a card stacking game, which is
it's like a House of Cards game.
Yeah, it's like a House of Card games where you have these kind of wall cards that are already pre-bent, so they're kind of like this, in this kind of like little, V shape. And you're putting those out and then putting a floor card on top of it. And then your opponents are putting those on top. And you're basically trying to get your little character higher than everyone else. So basically you put the floors down and then you roll a die. And however many, it'll essentially move your person up that many floors. From 0, I think, to 3.
Yep.
And essentially, by the time it collapses, you want to be the highest one. If you're the highest one when it collapses, you win the game.
Well, unless you're the one that makes it collapse.
Unless
everyone else wins and you lose.
That's true, unless you're the one who makes it collapse. And of course, as it gets, especially around here, Super Battle, it's like it starts to get where it's like 5 feet tall, and you're like on a chair and the whole thing's like swaying, and it's so fun though because you get to use you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and you have like different towers going, and then you finally do a thing to connect them and kind of like solidify them, and it's just silly, ridiculous fun. That's perfect for a filler because you're like, look, we're gonna be over here hooting and hollering, stacking cards. It's one of those things where it's like, those kinds of games are so fun for kids, but they're even funner for adults because you just get to be a kid and have a good time. And it's like, it's going to be 10 minutes. You're going to knock it over. Light. You're going to laugh your butt off, and then you're going to play brass and be sad, And it's just like, and it's going to be great,
I like going from that to that. That is the extremes right there. That's about as opposite games as you can have.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the beauty of films is they're a palate cleanser,
Yeah, they are. They kind of wipe it out. Let you just catch your breath, and then move on to the next.
A little lemon sorbet,
Ooh,
flush it out,
That's good stuff right there.
So nonetheless, Rhino Hero Super Battle or Rhino Hero, or really any kind of dexterity or stacking game is great, but we love Rhino Hero, and so that is our number 6.
Dang.
Let's get to number 5.
Shoot. So like we said, Nick, sometimes you want a filler game that's a palate cleanser you don't have to think about.
Yes.
Or you can alternatively have a palate cleanser that destroys your brain.
How about I just destroy myself? Yeah.
Just hurt yourself. Arboretum is a game where it's the simplest mechanisms of all time.
It's one of the simplest games ever, yeah.
You're going to draw a couple cards and play a card, right?
Yep.
That's it. But there are, if you have 4 players, 4 discard piles and a draw deck. So where you draw your cards from, you have these different choices there. And then you're going to play a card and then discard a card, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. So that's all you have to do is draw a couple things, play some stuff, discard some stuff. And you are trying to build out pathways of trees. And there's different species of trees that will be dependent on player count. And they each have numbers 1 to 8. And you're trying to build pathways of numbers that will ascend in order.
Yes.
They don't necessarily have to go 1, 2, 3, but they need to keep going up for it to be considered a path.
Yeah.
And then the way it works is that if you want to be able to score that path, a couple things. One, the first and last card within the path have to be the same species of tree.
Yes.
In between it can be mixed up, that's fine.
matter.
It's beneficial if it's all the same tree, but it can be mixed up. But if you have both of the ends are blue spruces or jacaranda, I'll go jacaranda, nice pretty one.
Purple, yeah.
You can potentially score that path, but that's not all. Because you have to hold some jacarandas in your hand because at the end of the game, you need to have more value worth of jacarandas in your hand left over that are not played to be able to then have the right to score that.
Only one person gets to score each species of tree.
So it's like you have to put everything out because if I have a pathway that's only jacaranda, if it's 4 or more and it's all the same species, I get all these bonus points. And if I get the 1 and the 8, it's even more bonus points. But if I put all those cards out, I might not have anything in my hand to hold because Nick knows I'm going for that. So he keeps the super high jack. He keeps the 7 in his hand. So it's all this stuff to consider and it creates all this turmoil.
Your brain just goes...
But all it is drawing a couple cards and then playing and discards the cards. That's it. Oh,
it's so hard.
And it's beautiful.
It really is. It's gorgeous. It just destroys your brain. It's just so thinky.
Yeah.
And again, it's a deck of cards. That's it. And it's but just the mix of trying to make the best Arboretum you can while trying to hold back enough.
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing where if you have the 8 card still in your hand, but someone else has the 1, your 8 card is now a 0.
Yeah.
So it's
like all these
it's
little
just
things
all these little things that just and they just melt your brain, and it's so much fun.
It's good.
And just again, talking about like thinkiness to mechanics, simplicity there's like almost no other game that is that the difference is so big between how simple it is and how thinky it is. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
But it's also quick. Again, it's like 15-20 minutes tops, and it's like it's super fun, but it is tough. Yeah, real tough.
It's all about restraint. It's about going for what you need, but also holding back enough to pull it off.
Yeah.
It's very tough. And what to focus on, what to let go.
Yeah.
It's super good. That's our number 5, Arboretum. Great game, beautiful with the new art. So let's check out number 4.
Number 4 is kind of like our auction game, our bidding game kind of thing. And this is High Society. It's a Rhino game. It's a couple different versions of this, but we talk about the newest one rather. Well, you are French people, and you are very fancy.
You're very fancy. You're trying to live a very fanciful life and spend all your money, but not
all your money.
Almost all your money.
That's the thing. So there's an auction game where essentially there'll be some kind of scoring card out there, like perfume, or you're going to the haberdashery or something. Something fancy.
You're going to do some horse races, some dressage.
Yeah, something fancy out there. And then everyone has a hand of cards, and then they're all francs, and you all have the same amount, certain values, like from 1,000 francs, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. And then it starts jabbing up 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way up to a high amount. And then the first person goes like 1,000 francs. And the next person has to bid higher or pass. It's very simple bidding auction kind of game.
You can go around and around.
And you keep going around and around until one person wins the auction. They get that card, scoring card in front of them. There's money cards go away. And that's pretty much it. That's most of the game. There are a couple cards that might double the value of the points or like half the value of your points that you don't want. There was it's
the faux pas.
The faux pas. You committed a faux pas. Yeah, exactly.
You
so certain things like that, but you're essentially just trying to get the most points in these cards, trying to win the most auctions. The things you're auctioning go from like 1 point all the way up to 10 points. So 10 point ones, people are gonna be dropping tons of money trying to get it. But at the end of the game, and this is why I love when auction games do this, whoever spent the most money is out.
Straight up eliminated.
Loses.
Instantly.
No matter, they can have every point in the game, they immediately lose because they spent the most money. So you have to spend money and get the most points, but you can't spend too much money because if you spent the most, you're done. And
it's a bad look if you spend all your money.
It's a bad look. This isn't Last Will, you know? And so it's just that little simple change in there just makes it so much fun. And just because like you're paying with francs, you're like, I'm going to pay 10,000 francs. And you start getting into it.
You get wrapped up in the auction.
It's very silly and very fun. You just get wrapped up in the whole thing like you were saying. And it's just great. And in terms of like simple bidding games, it doesn't get better than High Society. Pays 2 to 5 too, and it's just cards in your hand. That's it. Very small. It's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's got great art and stuff, and it's a hand management game because you can't make change with your cards. So it's just a lot of like fun little things to consider, and it's just silly. Like we always have a great time playing this.
Late night at a con, playing a little High Society, the best.
Definitely. And that is our number 4, High Society. So check out number 3. So, trick-taking games are good for fillers.
Really, you could choose your favorite trick-taking game.
Because a lot of them are on the quick side. Yes. Especially because you kind of playing multiple rounds. So a lot of these games, you can kind of choose how many rounds to play. And a game that we really, really are hot on right now is The Crew.
It just is.
The Crew is a fantastic trick-taking game that's cooperative, so that's super cool.
It's always nice.
You can play 2 to 5 players. It's really good at like 3 and 4 particularly. And the cool thing is that you have these different missions that you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to get certain people are trying to win certain tricks and things like that.
The pink 5.
The pink 5. Nick needs to win the trick with the pink 5 in it. And the cool thing is like, 1 round is 1 mission, and there's a whole mission log. And so this game is great because you can play for as short or as long as you need or want to, because each round itself is going to take 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's what's nice, having variable player times, being like, we can play until we're free, until the game's free.
And the game is great for people that know trick-taking games of any description because there's a lot of overlap. It's kind of standard trick-taking.
Of that, you're giving information without saying anything.
Right,
kind of thing,
you're trying to talk, and I like the co-op nature of that because everyone's trying to make really clever plays and stuff to communicate the way they can. And then with the different missions, it's nice because if you have someone who's never played a trick-taking game, you could explain trick-taking and then play just the first mission. It's very easy. Or, if someone's kind of played a little bit or played The Crew itself, you can jump into a later mission and you can just do whatever you want. You kind of pick and choose how you want to play The Crew, and each round is very quick. So this is a great filler game. I think it's going to continue to be a great filler game, especially if anyone and everyone likes trick-taking at all. It's a really fun game because you get to really flex your trick-taking communication skills.
Because it gets tough. It gets tough. Eventually you get to the point where like you need to win these 6 specific tricks, but this one has to be won before this one, and then that one has to be won before this one, and it starts getting hard. Like we tend to play at 5, which is very difficult.
Yeah.
And it's tough, but it's really fun. Again, you can enter your favorite trick-taking game in this entry. They all pretty much fit in here, but right now The Crew is just awesome. So good. It's so good.
Yeah, it's super solid. That's why it's our number 3. I could see it climbing from there. But The Crew is so fun. It's so fun.
Oh, it's so good.
So give it a go if you can. In the meantime, we'll get into our number 2.
Alrighty, our number 2 is, we always say, this is the epitome of a filler game.
It is.
Actually, both are 2 and 1. The reason they're 2 and 1 is because we constantly are just like, this is the epitome of a filler game.
Filleriest of the fillers.
Number 2 is Point Salad.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a filler. It is a kind of a play. It's kind of like a silly kind of meta theme where point salads are games where, like Castle Burgundy, a game where no matter what you do, it gives you points.
So you give you points
somehow. You do this, you get 1 or 2 points. You do this, you get 1 or 2 points. You do this, it's just a point salad game. A lot of Stefan Feld games are considered point salad games. So of course, someone's like, I'm gonna be cheeky. We're gonna make a game called Point Salad.
How brilliant!
And the funny is, this game isn't like super point salad-y, but nonetheless, it's just
a pun.
It is the simplest set collection game. There is a market of vegetables, onions, cabbage, lettuce, carrots, tomatoes. There's one more.
I don't know.
There's one more.
Bell peppers.
Bell peppers. Boom, nailed it. First try. But nonetheless, and then so there's 6 of those cards out, and then there are 3 stacks of cards up here that are on the other side, and they all have their scoring. Yeah. They have scoring options. Each card has a vegetable on one side and then a scoring option on the other side. And so you have 3 scoring stacks up here, and then you have 6 cards out here in a little tableau. And on your turn, you can either take 2 vegetable cards or you can take 1 scoring card. That's it. You also can flip over one of your scoring cards to its vegetable side in your tableau if you want to. That's literally all you do.
Yep.
And then you basically, everyone just drafts. You keep drafting around and around and around until all the cards are gone. And then you score them. That's the entire game.
Pretty much as long as it took us to explain it takes to play. And all of them are like, the scoring cards would be like every set
tomato,
of,
you get 2 points.
Every tomato is 2 points. Every set of onion and carrot is 5 points.
If you have an even amount of cabbage, you get 7 points. If you have an odd amount of cabbage, you get 3 points.
Yeah.
There's all
sorts
these
of stuff
different
like that.
scoring ones. For every vegetable type you're missing is worth 5 points. So you're basically getting all these scoring cards, and they're essentially dictating what you want to draft. And then so you're trying to get scoring cards that work well with each other. So I have one that gives me 2 points for every cabbage, and then this one that gives me 5 points for every set of cabbage. It's like, okay, though I should get both of those because they're going to score.
They're going to score, yeah.
Once all the cards have been drafted, you just score each of your scoring cards individually, go boom, 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 all the way down the line. Whoever has the most points wins. And it literally in the book says, and when you're done, just shuffle up and play again because this game is like 5 minutes long.
Yeah, it's really fun and cute and like just easy. And you feel satisfied because you did some cool stuff. You get to be clever.
Fun. Again, like we always say, it's the epitome of a filler.
Yeah.
The epitome of a filler. Just quick, so easy. Little set collection. You got 5 minutes, you got 10 minutes, you play it real quick. Oh, we got 10 more minutes. All right, we'll shuffle up and play it again. So easy, can explain to anyone. And then on top of that, though, because there's every single card has a scoring on the back, I think they're all different. Or if there's not all different, there's a billion of them.
I think they might be, yeah.
I think they're all different. And so it's just like, it's always going to be different, you know, in terms of what you're trying to draft. And like, oh, I don't want any tomatoes because I lose 3 points for every tomato I have. So I got to make sure I'm never drafting tomato. Just like all over the place. It's just weird and fun.
It's awesome. It's great. It's number 2 for us, and it's just been, it's a newer edition for us. And like, we've been loving it here. So
it's the most fillery filler.
Yeah.
Put the most fillery filler down in the comments below what you think. I think it's point salad. It's not our number 1, but like that's because I like the other game more. But
fair enough. Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
With that though, we'll get to number 1, which is also a pretty filler.
Oh yeah, for sure.
As well. And here it comes right now. So this is probably both of our go-to filler these days because it can accommodate 2 to 5 players, and you can teach and play it in like
10 minutes?
10, 12 minutes tops.
Yeah.
It's really quick.
15 if people are slow.
Draftosaurus.
Yeah.
Draftosaurus. So this is a game where you are making a little dinosaur park. You have a little player board that will have different enclosures for your dinosaurs to go into, and they all score a little differently. They all want different things. The top left one, you want to have all the same type of dinosaur.
Yep.
Once you choose like a Triceratops, it has to have only Triceratops, and the more of the same thing you get in there, the more points you'll get. And then there's the opposite of that, where you want one that has every different type of dinosaur in there. And the more different types of dinosaurs you get, the more points you get. There's one where if you just get 3 dinosaurs exactly, it doesn't matter what type, you get points. Things like that. And you are drafting these actual little wooden dinosaur meeples. And it's going to be the classic drafting where I have 6 to start, and I'm going to choose one of them to play. The rest get passed, and I'll get whatever my opponent to my right has. And then I'm going to place that into my zoo. And the one little twist is that there's a die that a player rolls. Whoever rolls the die doesn't have to pay attention to the die, but everyone else does. And what gets rolled on the die is going to dictate where your dinosaur can go. So sometimes it's going to be like, it has to be on the 3 pens on the left side of the river, or it has to be on the right, or it has to be on the bottom 3 or the top 3, or it has to go somewhere that doesn't have a dinosaur yet. Or it can be somewhere that doesn't have a T-Rex. So it's just little things like that where all of a sudden you're like, oh,
I want to put this up here, but I can't.
I can't do that now. Okay, now what do I do? And like, that's all there is. It's super simple to explain how the pens work. It's well laid out. And then having that little die to kind of create a little bit of friction.
A little pepper, just
it's
dropping it like
all
salt
you
bay,
need,
you know?
but it's a super simple, cute, quick game.
Again, fillery filler.
It's a filleriest of fillers, and it's just fantastic.
It's fun. There's also 2 sides to the board.
2 sides of the board which have different pens. The winter side is beautiful and slightly a step up. But you can literally teach the game, play one side, flip the board, play the other side, 20 minutes tops.
20, 30 minutes.
That's awesome. That's such a cool thing, and you can play up to 5 players.
And drafting, I always feel like I love drafting games. Mike loves drafting games, but like we always get frustrated with drafting games, same like Sushi Go, because especially with new people, even with experienced people, just something always gets messed up in the draft. Someone drafts people because people draft at different rates. People just there's always someone who's like everyone has 5 cards, one person has 4, and everyone's like, what happened? What happened? And because these are like meeples, and you literally are holding them, and then you pass them like that. The drafting doesn't get messed up nearly as often.
And it's a little more clear that it's like, okay, now we all have chosen, let's all place it into our park. And you have to take a second to think about where it's going. So it keeps it a little bit cleaner.
It's easier to do for new players as well. And this is a game that, like, again, talk about getting new players into the hobby. This is a game like they never have seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
Ever. If they
like
played
the little
only mass
meeples
market
and stuff, there's a lot of visual appeal.
It would blow their mind that a game like this exists, and it's just a little filler game, you know? And it's like, this is a great game. Be like, hey, you guys want to play a game? They're like, all right, cool. I don't really play modern board games. You break out this, it's like, it's great. And it's so fun.
So fun and cute. It's
cute
just
meeples, great.
Fantastic. It's my go-to filler these days. It's one of my favorite games. I love it. I think I love teaching it to people.
Yeah, you really, it's like your favorite game to bring out.
Yeah, you can fill it in, you can just shove it into any free period of time you have. You can play Draftosaurus. I promise you got enough time for that.
You got enough time.
And it's great. So
ain't nobody too busy.
Yeah. So that's just 10 fillers that we enjoyed. There's plenty more out there, plenty more that we love and have here.
Our list was about twice as long, so we had to pare it down.
We could do a whole other list of filler games, but let us know in the comments what your favorite filler games are. What are your go-tos? Which ones do you love to teach? Which ones does your game group come back to time and time again? Put those in the comments below because we're always looking. There's probably some game out there that we've never heard of that's like amazing.
Filler games are one of those things where it's like I'm always looking for like the next big like heavy game that I'll love, you know, kind of thing. But like I would say I'm always looking for small games. Probably more. One, because they're easier to keep because they're smaller.
Easier to keep, they're easier to get played.
And we can play them with us and other people. You know, it's like I'm not gonna the next big like heavy Great Western Trail type thing. It's like great, we'll play that.
Yeah.
Some of our friends will play that, but that's about it. But it's like Draftosaurus, it's like throw that into a backpack. We're going out to hang out with some people. Maybe we'll have a time to play a little game. You know, it's like it's great.
It's fantastic, and they're usually pretty affordable to boot. So it's just kind of great all around. Filler games are great for this hobby. That's why we love them. They're fun.
They're fun.
They're usually just super fun.
Just have some fun with a filler.
That's it. So that's our list, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. We really hope you enjoyed this. If you have an idea of a list you would like to see us do, also put that in the comments below. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up while you're at it. It helps us out a lot. And if you dig all the stuff that BoardGameGeek has going on, they have a ton more things.
Yes.
Make sure you subscribe so you get notifications about all the different programming that they have.
Indeed. Check out our other top 10s with Steph. They're awesome. That's where we are directly comparing our top 10 list to BGG's top 10 list. Super fun. So check those out as well.
All right. And that's going to be it for us. Until next time, I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
We're the Brothers Murph, and we're out of here.
Bye, everybody. Bye.